I'm going to have two words for you today: wellness and authenticity. And you might be thinking, how do they relate? And I'm here to tell you that you cannot do one without the other. That's what I think. But I have a very special guest today, and she is going to help us dive into the topic. So don't go anywhere. Welcome to Leading Intentionally, the podcast where we dive deep into the world of leadership transformation. I am Carmen Paredes, your guide in this journey, and I'm so thrilled to have you with us today. In each episode, we share strategies, insights, and stories to help you drive growth, enhance workplace culture, and lead with intentionality. Whether you are a seasoned executive, an aspired leader, or just someone passionate about positivity in the workplace, this podcast is for you. Each week, I'll bring you conversations with thought leaders, experts, and trailblazers that will share with you their insights, wisdom, and experiences so that you can apply these practical tips to your leadership journey. Get ready to explore topics like inclusive leadership, women's empowerment, effective communication, and so much more. If you're ready to lead intentionally and make lasting impact in your organization, you are in the right place. Let's embark in this transformative leadership journey together. This is Leading Intentionally. Let's dive in. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Leading Intentionally. Today, I have with me Ana is a seasoned RN with 2 decades of experience, committed to holistic healing modalities, prioritizing natural approaches to wellness and empowering individuals to live authentically by embracing boundaries and speaking their truth. Her practice fosters personal growth and transformation by nurturing a lifestyle of authenticity and self-expression. I'm so excited to have you here in the show today, Anna, and your last name is?
Georgner.
So welcome to the show. I was so excited when I read your bio because I didn't know you do all the school things that I'm into also. So I think this is going to be an amazing conversation. But before we get there, I always like to give you an opportunity to get the listeners to get to know you. So, everyone has a story. So what's your story? How did you end up with this mission to help people live a life of wellness and authenticity?
Let's see, where do I start? So I grew up the typical good girl who followed the rules. I thought if you do everything, you follow the rules, meaning you get good grades and you go to college and you buy the house and you get married and have the baby in that order, then that means life would be safe, right? That you would be like, yeah, I was always searching for a sense of safety, right? So I thought if I followed the rules and kept my mouth shut and kept myself small, then I would be safe, right? And so I found that doing those things that quote unquote kept me safe ended up leaving me abandoned, right? So even though I bought the big house and had the new baby and married, at that point, my ex-husband decided to leave. And I thought, okay, well, if I just become more perfect, right? If I lose the baby weight, if I just become more subservient and cook all the good meals and be all the, sexy time, then maybe I can have that life that I was striving to have. Well, in this sense of like aloneness, right? Time alone, where I had to figure out who I was. Who am I if I'm not a mother full time to my little baby? Who am I if I'm not a wife? Who am I? What do I like? Because it was always about the other person, right? It was always about how can I mold myself to be what the other person wanted me to be accepted and to be loved. So with that, people pleaser for life. That was me. Good girl, keep my mouth shut. I started to have this time and opportunity to kind of focus on myself, right? Like the pain of like coming in and like, who am I? What do I like to do? So even though I'd been a nurse for 20 years, I knew I wanted something more than just taking a pill, right? Taking a pill to take the pain away. And so I started to do different modalities. I started to do yoga and breath work and just kind of opening myself up to just different things to like help to heal myself. And I went to experience these different modalities. I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I have to do. This is what I do to really help people, other than just giving them a pill to like numb the pain, right? And so in that wellness journey, I have found my calling in terms of doing breath work, holding sacred ceremonies for people to really allow them to get deep and immersive into their healing process, which then opens up their voice to speak, right? Helps them to live a life of authenticity with boundaries, right? So you can keep an open heart, but with boundaries, so that you can be safe. My safety is no longer in my home, my
Mhm.
marriage, my status, right? It's now inside. Yeah.
Oh,
So,
so beautiful. Because you're speaking my language. Everything you said, I've done mindset for like 20 years and always felt like there's something missing. It has to be something missing because how is it that I have it all in paper? I made it to the top in corporate America. I have a beautiful home. Yet I cannot keep relationships like because they all are the wrong people for me because yes, you keep attracting, you know, what you are. And then I discover energy and it changed my life and the life of those who actually stay with me in the trajectory because some people fell off. I love when you're talking about how the boundaries and the wellness and in the way I tease the episode, the correlation between wellness and authenticity is because I know in my own journey that because I wasn't being truthful to my needs and myself, I burned out because I wasn't willing to ask for help and it wasn't even a matter of I'm consciously not wanting to do it. It was just so ingrained in my survival mechanisms to like do more, right? Like you were talking about all the to-do list and the checklist, but my checklist was a little different, but it was still like that's how I'm gonna be safe, right? Is you know being having a bigger title, having a bigger house, and it's not. It's all an illusion, right? And so I love there's no coincidences that we connected because this conversation was meant to happen.
1,000%, 1,000%. My parents both just recently passed away,
Mm.
and they were both on hospice. And I remember, like now that they've passed, I've had this deep, like wanting desire to like connect, like with my lineage, and like why are the same patterns happening in my mother line as they are happening with my daughter line? It's kind of like this correlation between something like deeper that's wanting to get integrated, right? And
Yeah,
so, yeah, it's so beautiful, like what you're sharing, like this doing, because I saw that in my parents, right? No matter how much they did to earn, you know,
yeah,
I could see the patterns that I was also coming into my life, which also is translating to my daughter's life. So, just really, I feel like just coming back into myself and being like true and authentic to me is like healing. I can feel the healing happening like both ways, right?
yeah. And
Like,
and it does because I my core wounds are a lot of emotional neglect, and I had a lot of resentment, and I had made up my mind since I was a little girl that I was gonna be a certain type of mom because I wanted to be different. I wanted to be better, and it's not like I wasn't being beat up. That happened once in a while because I'm a Latina, but that wasn't the case. It wasn't like I wasn't being physically abused. It was more of an emotional neglect the way I felt it. And little did I know, I was doing the same thing to my daughter until I got into this journey. And I realized in healing my relationship with my daughter, I had to go heal my relationship with my mom. And I discovered that she didn't know any better because that happened with her mom and her. And so that's the moment I said, okay, this BS is going to end up right here with my daughter and it's not going to go any further. And I made it like literally like my purpose because it is like we carry all these programming, all this trauma, all these survival strategies. Nobody is doing anything to hurt other people. It's all about how can I protect myself. And when I understood that, also helped me have more compassion for people at work because I was surrounded by people who had, a lot of negative energy pouring out of themselves. And I always used to take it personally. But when I realized, like, it has nothing to do with me, this is how they are coping to survive. Then, like, the whole perspective shift, because all I needed to do was protect my little energy, my little bubble, and, just let them be, right? If anything, you send them love and light, like I'm sure you do with Ricky. But yes, I'm so happy you're in the journey too, because you're gonna transform, you know, the life of your daughter as well. It's like there's no reason why nobody else in the future should carry the traumas of our ancestors. So
And what a weight lifted, right? Like to not carry the burden of, like you say, all the people around you, right? So like you're no longer having to carry all your coworkers or making it think like, okay, well, I need to change who I am in order so that, they'll accept me or I can fit into what they think I should be. And
mhm.
yeah, it's like such like it's so freeing to like allow people to be who they want to be, right? And that's a lot by allowing myself to be who I want to be authentically. So when, I have a lot of deep religious programming, I feel like through my family line, and
Mhm.
me recognizing that me being authentic and true and not hiding myself, right? Because if I'm like, okay, I know this is what makes me feel good and whole, then
Yeah.
I need to be okay with that rather than doesn't matter who accepts it or not, right? Or people saying, hey, Anna, that's not that's bad, or their quote unquote version of what's good and what's bad. And me just recognizing like, well, this is good for me, and I let you do what's good for you, right? And so it feels freeing to be authentically me and to allow people to be authentically themselves as well, right? And what a gift to your daughter that you can allow her to be authentic to who she is, and you're no longer trying to hold and mold her and control her to be who you want her to be, right?
Yeah. And and I can go in the rabbit hole of the religion, but I think I'm just gonna bring it back to authenticity. And I would like to have that conversation maybe with you and maybe another podcast, because there's so much coming down now. Like uh but I wanted to, because we can even talk about authenticity and wellness. And so this is your area of expertise. And I wanted to see, like, if you can share with our listeners, how do you even begin to be authentic if you've been living in a, in the matrix condition to not speak up, to not be who you are?
Yes, for sure. So I think a lot of it has to do with starting with just self-care, right? So getting
Mm-hmm.
out of the practice of doing for everybody else to try to earn your own like worth, right? Because if it's like
Mm-hmm.
I just change who I am, or if I just do more for people, then I can earn. So part of
Mm-hmm.
that is like pulling back your energy back into yourself, and all that energy that you're pouring out into people, kind of like pour that back into you. So doing methods of self care. So if that's learning to be alone, right? Like learning to take care of your body. So if that's starting to exercise, starting to walk, starting to be out in nature, yoga, like moving your body, I think is important, as
Mm-hmm.
well as nutrition, right? So like nourishing your body. With the foods that we're eating, as well as mentally, like the shows that we're watching, the type of podcasts that we're listening to that bring us, that elevate us, right? So like bringing back that nourishment back into ourselves, and with that, by nourishing yourself, you become a light, and you start to become like, you start to recognize like, this feels good to me, and I'm going to continue to do it even if the people around me um, tell me I'm being selfish. I know what feels good inside, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, practices of self-care I think is a great place to start.
And I love how you explain that so beautifully, because I feel like most people say, like, oh, I'm gonna do a little self care, and what they go, it's like manicure, pedicure, which is good. Go do that too. But that is not what it means at a soulful level, you know, um, in order to transform your life. And it took me a while to discover, because when I started my self care journey, it would be like, let me take a bath, and then I live in Alaska. So then it got really fancy, like, I'm going to Hawaii for the weekend, but it, what I was doing in both two things were grounding and spending time alone, right? So it took me to really kind of like take the thing apart and realize what are the components of this that is helping me feel better, right? And then I got into the food and stuff. And one of the things I talk about is how work is an addiction to numb your pain. Like you do it. The people who are workaholics, like I am, um, right? You use it to numb the pain, and some people use alcohol, some people use drugs, some people use food, right? And so I got into the point where I was like, okay, where do you want to eat that? Like if I wanted to eat like potato chips, right? When do you want to eat that? Do you really hungry? Does your body really need potato chips? Or do you need to go walk outside barefoot and ground, right? Or do you just need a hug? Because sometimes, right? Because food is nurturing, and sometimes what we just need is a little bit of self nurture, right? So I learned to do all these things. And I'm so glad you brought that up because it's so important to start with your self care routine. And it's not what you think it is, it's so much deep, it's a connection with yourself, with your authentic self.
Yes, I call it reparenting myself. So I came from
Mm,
a big family, I have 5 sisters and 100 first cousins, never really feeling like I had a place, at the table or that like, my mom had time, there's so many kids and she
yeah.
came from a big family too. So like me kind of like having the opportunity now as a grown woman, like I'm able to do things that like my ancestors couldn't do. Like I'm a
Mhm,
woman who's able to live alone in my home, right? And to have the opportunity and space to like have my sanctuary, like my home is now my sanctuary, and to make it cozy and safe and fun and girl, so yes, just this space of like safety that I've like been cocoon that I've been able to create for myself and really enjoying my time alone. Cause like you, I was a workaholic, right? Cause my worth is in what I produce and what I provide.
mhm. Yeah.
But like coming back and like allowing myself to have that time alone and really like reparenting myself and like nourishing myself, right? Like as if I was like what would I want for my daughter, right? I would want her to like be feel loved and feel taken care of and pampered. And so
Yeah.
just kind of coming into that and doing that for myself instead of expecting it right from a lover, from, oh, I should have got this as a little girl. Well, I have this opportunity now to offer that to myself.
I love that you said, would I want this for my daughter? Because that is such, I don't think people, I mean, and I have realized this consciously, but I don't know that I have put it in those words before. When there were things in my life and people in my life that were hurting me, one of the things that helped me, gave me the courage to say, no. I mean, work, last relationship, food. And I actually had that thought. If this was my daughter going through this, what would I tell her? What would I tell her to do? Get out of it, right? Like, you don't deserve this. And so I never thought about I was parenting myself. So thank you for that. That's brilliant. Thank you.
Yes, of course. It's so easy to see like now when I think of like interactions with men or that kind of thing, I'm like, what would I tell my daughter if this
Mhm.
was a man pursuing her or if this was I would say, no, baby, you
Are
don't
you
see
crazy?
yeah, you don't see how gorgeous you are and you don't see like the light in you and like
Yeah,
of course, like all these men want like of course, but what do you want, right?
yeah, yeah.
And so, yes, so having to like rewire my own brain and know that I'm also deserving of that same thing that I would want for my daughter, what you would want for your daughter, right?
Yeah.
What we all want for our kids,
Yeah.
you know?
And if you don't have a kid, well, I mean, if you had a kid, what would you say, right? Like, you don't, what would you do for your best friend? Someone that you really, really care about and love, right? It doesn't have to be your kid, but, oh, I love that. It's just so powerful and so powerful.
Hmm.
So, okay. So then people start getting the idea of self care and maybe they want to go a little bit deeper. It's like, okay, I'm getting it. Do you have any other tool under your
Come
sleeve?
on, come see me.
Yeah,
Come see me
totally.
if you want to go deeper. Yes, so I totally recommend. So I do a type of service, for example, called transformational breath. And with that,
Mhm.
if you've ever done any type of like immersive kind of deep breathing, this one I feel like is a very nurturing type of like, I call it divine mother type of like nurturing energy, where we have you breathe in a certain pattern. You lie down. It's a,
Yeah.
you know, an hour of breathing, and we play music. Um, we have you breathe consciously to get you kind of activate, like in a sense of like deep connection, where you can spiritually connect with your soul, right, with your spirit family. And it helps with mental emotional regulation. So so many of us think about what happens when we're stressed, right? So
Yeah.
you get a lump in your throat, in your
Yeah.
chest, in your
It's
belly.
shallow breathing.
Yes, and it
Yeah.
stays stuck,
Yeah.
right? And all this tension in your body creates dis-ease, right?
Mm-hmm.
So many women are developing autoimmune diseases. We don't know why, right? That's what the doctors say. We don't know why, but you have an autoimmune condition, and really, it's all this tension that is like stuck in your body, and your body is your biggest tool and it's talking to you. So,
Mm-hmm.
really, like allowing yourself to be in a safe space, to breathe through these deep emotions, to just allow it to pass through your body so that it doesn't stay stuck, right? So, breathing through, integrating these deep emotions, and then with the breath work, physical benefits of physical, pain relief, lymphatic drainage, overall general health. So I'm super passionate about the breath work. I also do different modalities, like I say, energy healing, Reiki. I do distance. I also do past life regression, hypnotherapy with like really deep immersive, like entity removal and just a deep clearing of your energy field, just to get you in kind of the highest vibration. So yes, lots of modalities. I offer them in person, online. But yes, if you have somebody in your area who does these type of modalities and you're open to it, I totally suggest, just kind of um, going in and like doing that type of self-care, right, for yourself, that kind of deeper layering of like really
Yeah.
peeling that onion.
So I don't say this too often in LinkedIn. I in Instagram and Facebook's a different story, in TikTok. But so I'm a master energy healer too. And this morning I was having a channel, and it was, how do you wake them up? I feel my mission is to wake up the leaders, because if you wake up the leaders, you can wake up everybody. And the entire time we've been talking, I'm going to say it because I know you'll get, my third eye is buzzing since the minute you came in the screen. So it's, which is,
Yay.
it's crazy. Yes. So I just love that we're having this conversation, because this is what changed my life. The awareness of all this, the ability to know that, you know yes, we had past life. The things that happened to you there are still affecting you now, in a way or fashion. And sometimes you have to clear that in order to be able to release your karma, and move forward. And whoever's not like this conversation can tune out. But whoever stays here, uh these are things that you can do in person, but you can also do remote. I have actually hosted. I don't do breath work for business. I just do it with my friends, kind of thing. But I've done it in Zoom, and I mean, the results are great. I mean, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be in the same place. People think like, oh yeah, the energy is not gonna work. It works as well through Zoom, through on the phone. Like for me, like if I'm connected to the person, I don't even need to be talking to them to do anything. So it is hopefully something that people are more and more receptive to, because it's one of those tools that is right there for us, waiting to just people to tap in. And I just love when people talk about these things, because it's everything.
Yes, I love that you're sharing. I love your authenticity and saying, "Hey, I'm going to talk about third eye. For those who don't want to stay, go. It's okay. You don't have to stay."
Yeah.
And I love that. Like we're no longer having to be silenced, right? This is authenticity. This is waking up the leaders,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many leaders. The leaders are waking now, and so like I feel like if you're being called to see somebody like us, like one of these energy healers, that's because you are a leader yourself, right? And
Yeah.
so you are being called to awaken. And so I just love like this sense of like I will not be silenced, right? Right? And I'm going to
Yeah.
share
Yeah.
authentically. I'm going to draw the people who are meant to come.
Yeah. And you know what I love too? Because a lot of people say sometimes, oh, the people who talk about that, they're just hippies, woo woos. Okay. So Anna is an RN. I'm a mechanical engineer. I I am a left brain person. Everything needs to make sense to me. And trust me, even the weirdest things I've seen and experienced actually make sense to me. So it's like, no, it has nothing to do with not knowing the normal way. It just means that we have, opened the lid. All you have to do is like crack the window open, and then all these lights start pouring into your life. And then it's like, the door opens and the hallway opens and the highways opens. And it's the easy way to find the happiness and the fulfillment.
Yes, I'm so excited. I could feel my like throat vibrating, just because like this sense of like before I know I was like silenced, you know what I mean? Like on
Mhm.
this type of stuff and like how free that we can live in a time that we don't have to be silenced about how powerful energy work is, right? And like how you can speak your voice to like
Yeah,
speak your truth and to be authentic and to
yeah,
find your people, right? Your true, genuine people. Like even the way we connected, you know what I mean? Like that was divine timing,
yeah,
right?
always.
We're connected. Yeah, we it got set up, and so like the same way, energy is just so beautiful, and it's
Yeah,
such a process to flow and to trust, right? That we will
yeah.
be connected
Yeah.
with the
Oh my
right
God, I love that. So, for anyone who this conversation is resonating with, right, and you want to learn more, you don't have to jump into the puddle, right? You can ease your way in. You can, just buy. And this is one of the things I have started to do. Just by being in the room, my intention is that my aura is healing anyone who touches. So I recently did a TEDx, and when I stood in that stage, that was my intention, right? It wasn't so much my words, but the energy I put behind the words that was gonna deliver the message, And so, if you want to like be exposed to any of these things, you need to go follow Anna. You're listening to the podcast. You're obviously following me already, so. But you need to go follow Anna, and I'll put the her handle in the show notes. But so it's Instagram mostly where you hang out.
Yeah, primarily I'm doing Instagram, Facebook, but primarily Instagram.
Okay, so we'll put all those links in the show notes so people can go very easy, click and follow. And is there anything you would like to say to kind of wrap up the conversation? Just because we're getting to the end of the show here.
Just gratitude. Like
Mhm.
so grateful for you for holding this space, this beautiful space of connecting like-minded individuals. And like you say, you have that grounding presence. And just by being in your energy, you are helping to heal the collective, right? And so just knowing that anybody here is also has powerful purpose, right? And just so grateful for you taking that time to be here, the listeners to be here
Yeah.
themselves and to really receive, right? And if you're feeling this little tingle or itch,
Tingling.
or kind of motivation to like follow it, that's your inner intuition, that's
Mhm.
your inner guidance showing you the way, and just to
Mhm.
trust it. And like life is such a beautiful gift when you start to like let go of the control and just allow and flow, right? You
Yeah.
get connections just like here we
Yeah.
are today. Like it's such a gift. So follow your intuition is my biggest um, advice here today.
I love it. Thank you so much for joining us today, Anna. This has been a pleasure. It's been a delight. Like literally, I hope you believe me that I had no idea this conversation was gonna end up here. We never met in person. We never met like this. I just read her bio this morning, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be fun. And yes, everything happens in a divine matter, and I'm just so grateful you were here today.
So grateful as well. Yes, I'm excited. Yes.
And you guys know this is how you lead intentionally. See you next week. Bye bye.